Yo, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Homie Hector here, and today we got this 2013 Honda Accord that is in here because it doesn't start. Now, the backstory behind this car is that the customer got the transmission replaced or rebuilt, but he got it removed, got it reinstalled. Then he had the check engine light on with some codes for speed sensors or whatever. He said he cleaned the speed sensors using some electrical cleaner. He cleaned the connectors, cleaned the sensors, and after that, the car wouldn't start. Took it to a shop, had it diagnosed. They diagnosed it as a bad ECM, replaced the ECM, car still doesn't start. Transmission replaced, ECM replaced, doesn't start. We have the old ECM in the passenger seat. We're gonna crank it over right now. I'm gonna let you listen to it, and we're gonna take it from there. And I gotta step on the clutch. Nothing. That's all we have. Earlier when I tried to start it, it was starting for 2 seconds and then it would shut off. We have the old ECU right here. ECU, ECM, PCM. Right there. They said this was a bad PCM. They changed it up. Car still doesn't start. Alright, so right now what I have going on is I have my scanner hooked up. I checked it out for codes and it had like 10-15 codes. I'll put those pictures up right here so you guys can see all the codes. But right now what I noticed is sitting here in the car, this is what I noticed. Alright, so one of the first things I did was I came over, I started the car. Well, I tried to start it. It did that and then it completely turned off. Now pay attention to this light right here, this key light. It's constantly blinking. So there's something up with the immobilizer, there's something up with the key. Okay, that right there is a big clue. So what's happening here is that the new ECM does not recognize this key. That's why we're getting that symbol that's flashing, because it doesn't recognize the key. It's not gonna start the car. It'll attempt to start it, but then it'll be like, wait, that's the wrong key, shut it off. Alright, that's the anti-theft system kicking in. I'll put links to other videos right here on the top right so you guys can check that out. Some related to keys, some related to computer issues, but that's what we have right now. I'm gonna hook up my scanner. Actually, I already have it hooked up. I'm gonna show you guys how we're gonna try to fix it, and hopefully it works with the snap-on Veris. Alright, check this out. This is a vehicle history because I checked it out earlier, okay? Now that's a 2013 Honda Accord. This is the car that we're working on. So we got a bunch of codes here, and we had a lot more in other modules. All right, now look at this. Okay, all these are low voltage codes, so that does indicate that we're either missing a 5 volt or we're missing a power feed to the computer, giving us all these low voltage codes. Now, one thing that I did notice, if you check out this VIN, it ends in 106285. This VIN does not match the car's VIN. So this is a VIN from the new ECM, and it doesn't match the VIN on the car, and this is why the car is not starting. This is why we have that blinking key. So what I'm going to try to do is try to rewrite the VIN and see if it's that simple and if that'll do it for us. One thing that I also wanted to do was to go ahead and put the old computer back and see what the symptoms were and see what it was doing, but I'm going to start with this. It's the easiest thing to do, and that might just do it for us. So we have a blinking key on the dash, we have a VIN that doesn't match, and that all points to this computer not being programmed and letting it recognize the new key. So we're gonna try to do that right now. Hopefully I can do it with this scanner. If not, we'll see how we do this. Also, one of the things I did after that was I cleared all the codes, and I was cranking it and cranking it to see what codes came back, and none of the codes came back. So from all the codes that he sent me, all the codes that were there from the beginning, nothing came back. The only one that I got back is this one right here, which is a B12D1 power circuit ignition 1B circuit error, which I believe has something to do with the key. What I'm going to do right here is I'm going to go into engine, and in engine we have an option under special functions, and we're going to read the VIN. We're going to try to write the new VIN into the PCM. This way we can get the key and the computer talking to each other again, and hopefully they're all happy and the car will start. I can go right here to replace ECM or PCM, but let me look at the VIN read write first, and we're going to read the VIN just so I can show you guys. So you can see right there that VIN, it ends in 106285. That does not match what's in the car, so we're gonna go ahead and write a new VIN. Turn engine off, ignition on. We have that. Okay, let's see if we're able to pull this off with the Veris. This is our new VIN. We're gonna put the car's VIN. There's our new VIN. We're gonna write it in there, see if that works. The entered VIN will be written to the ECM. Is the VIN correct? That is correct. Yes. The VIN has been written. Beautiful. Hit continue. Read VIN. And that is our VIN right there. Now let's see if we can start it. All right, so got the old computer in the car, and now the car starts. Boom, check that out. 90,115 on the odometer. Okay, so once again, the story from the beginning was that he got the transmission replaced, and then he had some check engine light on, or he did mention that his speedometer wasn't working. They diagnosed it as a bad ECM. They put a new ECM in there, and after that the car didn't start, of course, because they didn't program it. The key and the computer did not get along. They weren't compatible, so they had to program it. We didn't do that, so I put the old computer back. Now we're gonna go drive it, and I believe we're not gonna have speedometer. Okay, so let's go drive it, and we'll start again from square one. Lights on. All right, we can see the RPMs are working. The speedometer is not working. All right, so we got no speedometer, and we got a crooked steering wheel. The steering wheel was like this as I'm driving down the road, but hopefully you guys can see that that speedometer gauge is not moving at all. So that's what we're going to be attacking now. No speedometer. 2013 Honda Accord. Let's go check this one out. All right, so we got no speedometer. Now, before we start diagnosing this, whether it's the speedometer, whether it's a speed sensor issue, whether it's the computer, there's a test we can do on the cluster itself to see if the cluster works, to see if the gauge actually works. So basically, we push down this trip reset button. We're going to turn the light switch on, one click. Then we're going to turn the key on. When the key is on, we're going to go off, on, off. And then we're going to hit the trip button 3 times. And then it's going to run a self-test on the cluster. We're going to see if the gauge works, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so trip reset down, light switch on, key on, off, on, off, 1, 2, 3, and there it goes. There you go. You can see that actually works. That speedometer is working. The gauge is fine. There's nothing wrong with the cluster. We have to work our way back. It could possibly be a speed sensor issue. It could be a PCM issue. It could be a wiring issue. The way this works is the PCM sends the signal to this gauge cluster module right here through the FCAN circuit, which is pretty much just communication. Right now, as I was driving, let me turn this off. As I was driving, the check engine light came on. And this is what we have on right now. Check engine light. We got the electronic power steering light on. We got the VSA, and we got that TPMS light on. Okay, right now the gauge works. You guys saw that. Again, I'm going to repeat this process so you guys can see it. I'm actually going to post a screenshot of the process so that you guys can try it out if you need to. But it's pretty much hold the reset, turn the light switch 1 time, turn this push start twice, turn the switch off, on, off, and then hit the trip 3 times. And that goes into this self-diagnostic mode, and you can see all the gauges working. You can see what works, what doesn't work. If this gauge wasn't working, then that would be a straight up sign that this gauge doesn't work. But as you can see, it's moving. So next thing, go under the hood, go to the tranny, do some checks. Actually, I got the check engine light right now, so we're gonna see what code we got, and we'll take it from there. All right, back on the scanner. I told you I went on a test drive, and the check engine light came on as I was driving. Now this is with the original computer, the one that they called a bad computer. So I want to see why they called this a bad computer, and I want to see what the check engine light was. So the code that I have is a P0720, as you can see right here. C shaft speed sensor malfunction. C is counter shaft. Okay, so that is the output shaft speed sensor malfunction, P0720. We also have comparison between the vehicle speed and the engine speed, VSA system, and I think I saw a power steering. Yeah, steering angle sensor circuit malfunction. So I don't know if you noticed, when I was driving, the steering wheel is way off, maybe about 30 degrees to the left, and that has to be addressed also, but that's a separate issue. So what I'm worried about right now is this P0720 C shaft speed sensor malfunction. So what I got here under guided component test is the output speed sensor, which is that C shaft speed sensor. So a 3-wire sensor. We're gonna go to the sensor, black 3-pin harness connector at the output shaft speed sensor, left side of the engine compartment, which is right down here. We're gonna go to it, do some checks, and we'll take it from there. Alright, so if we come right below the battery, right in there, that is where our sensor lives. Right down there. That black connector right there with the rubber boot behind it, that is our sensor. So I'm going to unplug it and I'm going to do some voltage checks. The key is on right now, and we should have 5 volts on one pin signal and the ground on the other. So we're going to do those checks right now. Alright, I have my sensor disconnected. I'm going to go on the first pin. Could be a ground, could be a 5 volt. We'll find out right now. Okay, so this is one of the pins right here, 0.017. I'm assuming that's our ground. I'm gonna go to the middle wire. Up on the middle wire right there, 5.023, that's our signal wire. And I'm gonna go to the wire all the way to the right, and I got 5.015. That's our 5 volt reference. So that tells me that this computer's good. That's all 3 wires, ground, signal, and the 5 volt. Alright, it's the following day, and I just want to show you guys something real quick. Yesterday, after I checked the 5 volt reference, my signal, and my ground, after running the self-diagnostic on the gauge control module, we saw that the needle was working as it should. So that showed us that there was nothing wrong with the gauge itself. So we either had a sensor problem or a wiring issue, from the computer to the gauge control module, or from the sensor to the computer. So I was curious and I started taking the sensor off. Now I should have done this on camera, but I didn't, and let me show you guys what I found. Alright, so this is the output shaft speed sensor, also known as a counter shaft speed sensor, and as you can see, it's completely damaged. This is how I took it off yesterday, and I should have done that on camera, but I didn't because it was late at night. But the sensor is broken. Now that could have been done during the rebuild of the transmission. Well, the customer also stated that he did clean the sensors using electrical contact cleaner. I don't know if he took this off to clean it, but that's where we're at right now. Broken counter shaft speed sensor. This right here is the one that sends the signal to the PCM, then the PCM sends the signal to the gauge control module, giving us speedometer. So right now what I'm going to do is put another sensor in there, and hopefully there's nothing wrong internally that's damaging the sensor, because if there is, it's just going to damage the new one. He's going to have to take it back to the transmission shop and have him fix it. But I'm going to put a new sensor right now. We're going to go drive it. We're going to see if the cluster works, if we have speedometer, and if it does, then that's going to be it for this one. No computer needed, no reprogramming, just a bad output shaft speed sensor. Alright, so check it out. Put the new sensor in there. You can see it down there with the black connector, little 10mm bolt. Comes right out. Pop the other one right in. So I got the new sensor. I have the old ECM. This is the original one, the one that they said was bad. Now that we got all this in there, now we're going to go drive it. If we got speedometer, then this car's going to be good to go. So we still got to check engine light, electronic power steering, VSA, TPMS. We'll look into that if he wants to look into it. But obviously, steering wheel is crooked like this as we're driving, so something is up under there. And there it is. Check it out. Alright, so there it is, 2013 Honda Accord, 2.4 liter engine, manual transmission. Came in as a no start, was gonna do a computer reprogramming. I decided to put the old computer back. This is the one he picked up from the junkyard. Never needed this computer. Somebody made a bad call on this computer. All we needed to do was to replace this bad output shaft speed sensor, which was probably damaged during the rebuild of the transmission, or something internal is messing this sensor up. But I just took it on a test drive. We had good speedometer, so I'm gonna call this one a fix. And I guess the lesson learned here is whenever you get a car, start straight from the beginning. I was gonna reprogram this computer and call it a day, but if I would have reprogrammed it, we would have ended right back here at the output shaft speed sensor. So that's it, homies. I'm gonna end it right here. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.